What's up, everybody? How we doing today? Friday, a very special day today. And no, Jerry, not because it's Coop anniversary date night, even though it is, Rich. That's actually technically true. But that's not what
I
makes
don't know the background on that.
so Jerry on Jim Bowden. Basically, he is a baseball connoisseur, obviously former GM. So he gets called away to all these playoff games, and then I have to fill in for him on the show. And it just so happened that happened on my actual anniversary. So anniversary got pushed to today. So today is our anniversary. But more important than that, Rich Hribar's here joining us today to break down the slate. We're going to go game by game, hit on all the top plays, pull all the best matchups up. Obviously, the chalk guys are going to be in there, but maybe some sneaky guys if Rich really likes some matchup. And we're going to put them in an FFPC lineup. If you want to play at FFPC, use promo code Coop. They'll give you $25 when you deposit $35 or more. Anyway, let me bring him in. Rich, how's your season going, man? Did you have a lot of Rashid Shaheed?
Of course, he is my highest owned player in
Just
in
right there.
underdog. So that's going well, man. It feels tremendous, and I didn't take like full on victory laps, but like I was excited after 2 weeks for the Saints stuff. Like they were a team like I was excited about the coaching change, like all the things, and they obviously opened up and like not only did they not look good, they looked like the freaking like Mike Mart's Rams. Like they were just like carving through teams. And I'm like,
Crushing.
it was like hard not to be excited. Like
I
because
know.
we talk about all this stuff for like 5 months in the summer, right? And you get inundated with the stuff and you have like these takes, and maybe if they're like a bolder call and like it looks like you might get it right, you feel good. And then just to have it just immediately humble you. Like it just immediately humble you. Like
Right.
it just
It's
reminds you that like, yep, we're all at the mercy. We're all at the mercy.
and it was that slow burn too, where they were like, "Oh, his knees hurt," and we're like, "Oh, well, maybe it's okay." And then they're like, "It's bad. He's having surgery." But then they were like, "Wait a second, though. If it's a partial tear, no, full tear, he's done." It's like they strung us along just long enough to give us hope, man. And I will say, I had an article out on him as well, and just to make you feel even better or worse, at the time that he got hurt here, he was the number one guy. If you took average fantasy points per game versus ADP at wide receiver, he was number one, ahead of Godwin, ahead of Brian Thomas Jr., ahead of Malik Neighbors. He was creating the most value, and now he's gone.
We
So
need to protect Chris Godwin at all costs at
at
this point
all
because
costs,
every wide receiver that has been like an absolute great value has something's happened. Like Rashee Rice was like arguably one of the better values of the summer, just gets cooked and starts the year amazing. It's cooked.
amazing.
Malik Neighbors has missed the last 2 weeks. Hopefully he's back this week at least for us. So we got to protect Chris Godwin though.
Rashee Rice even pulled the Tyreek Hill move to lower his ADP of like getting in trouble, but then not getting suspended. Like, of course, they got to take that away from us. So, but anyway, there's still plenty of great guys out there, and there's plenty of great matchups this week. There's a lot of high over under games. I've had requests from this in the chat, folks. No, we're not talking, but I haven't watched Boogie Nights yet, Greg. We're not touching that's we'll save that for Howard Bender shows. But today I'm going to try and pull up the sheet that we use. So behind the scenes, I got the sheet that we used to go through the games. We're going to see how that looks on the screen here. If it looks stupid, let me know in the chat. But we're going to do our best to share the information with you because every guest I have on, we put this behind. So let's get into it quick. Here's what we're doing today for those that don't know. Over on FFPC, they have a weekly game that's different from all the other places. All the other places, you have to do a draft, you have to do salary, all this crazy stuff. None of that here. The only rule here is you can start any player you want, but you cannot start two players from the same game. And the beauty of that is that a lot of times, you get killed by stacks, right? Like the week
Right.
that Joe Burrow threw 5 touchdowns, 2 to Chase, 2 to Higgins. You know who won $1 million that week? Some dude in Cincinnati. So like you can't, right? It's like you can't do that here. You have to pick one guy from each team. We're going to go through and pull the top matchups, put them in this sheet. Let's see how it looks on the screen. Chat, boo. Everyone say boo if you don't like that. But I think it looks all right. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's better than I could do at this point.
Yeah, we got it. We got the over-unders on the left, the implied point totals there, a little algebra going on to tell you how much the Vegas spreads with the over-under imply these teams will score. And what we'll do is we're going to throw names in the sheet. That doesn't mean we're using them. It means they're in consideration. So let's start with the very first game in London, a home game, double home game, because they're actually the home team here, but they've been there for 2 weeks now for the Jaguars. 42 point spread, 42 point over under.
They're
6
London's
points.
team.
They are London's team, right? I almost said 42 point spread. It's Drake May Patriots, so not a 42 point spread. So what do you think on the Patriots side? Is there anyone we can use? And absolutely feel free to say no.
Yeah, I think so. Especially now, all we were looking for was Drake May to show some life in this offense. I mean, basically everyone was unusable. Jacoby Brissett wasn't even usable as a 2 QB gamer. He didn't have a week higher than QB 25. We were just looking for. I used the compos. I was just hoping him to be like Bo Nix level, like because Bo Nix is like run around and giving us some usable scores, and he better than that. It was the first time they scored 21 points in a game. They had more explosive pass plays they had in any other game. So at least we start to feel good about like, all right, well, maybe we can play some guys that are attached to this terrible offense. It's still not gonna be a good offense, but just give us something. Yeah. And he did. Drake May gave us something. I think by far the best player to kind of look at from a Patriots side would be Demario Douglas, as we have seen him be a target earner last year. And he now, over the past month, has 3 games with over 29% of the team's targets. And if you remember, Drake May going back to college, he peppered Josh Downs in the slot that second year. So in Jacksonville is 31st in catch rate allowed to slot receivers. They're 26th in catches per game allowed to slot receivers. So Demario Douglas on a full PPR site, is he the most sexy player? Are you like super excited to play double D? Nah, but we've liked double Ds in the past.
Yeah. Pop, let's go. Yeah, okay. The double D's are popping, right? There you go, dude. First game in. And the thing is, we'll put a lot of names in here, but at the end of the day, when we do have all the names and we're like, okay, do we start Justin Jefferson or Pop Douglas? Maybe he doesn't make the cut, but you got to differentiate just a little. You want the good chalk, avoid the bad chalk, differentiate a little. On the Jag side, and again, FFPC, as you know, is tight end premium. Is there anybody we could consider here? Jag's been pretty rough.
If Travis Etienne doesn't play, Tank Bigsby is definitely interesting because this is I play a lot of DFS. He's not on the main slate, but the Patriots are 25th in points allowed per touch to running backs. They are 25th in face of touches per game to backfields because they're not very good. They've allowed over 100 yards rushing in 4 straight weeks to the Texans. 185 yards to those guys last week. The Dolphins ran for 187 the week before, and that was Etienne got knocked out of the game with a concussion. It was Mostert and Jalen Wright. 49ers, Jets have all got a rushing touchdown against them too. So it's like, all right, Tank Bigsby is definitely in play, I think. If Etienne's out, which we're seeing he may or may not play. No one ever knows what's going on with Travis Etienne at this point this year. We don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, you never know. It is crazy though, because they were like week to week, and then they were like, oh, he's at practice today. It's like the Colts did that all last week too. And I will say with the Patriots, it's like they traded away Matthew Judon. Christian Barmore is dealing with blood clots. Like they just don't have the guys that we expected them to have even like 2 months ago. So it's just not a good run defense. The chat is smart. Chat, if you're joining us for the first time here, do us a favor. Ask us questions about the games while we're talking about those games. So right now we're talking about Jaguars, Patriots. And look, we got some questions. Goff or Drake May this week?
Oh, I'm definitely playing Goff still.
Yes, for sure.
We'll talk about that when we get to that game, I guess. But
we'll go quick on these. Kincaid, Henry, or Ingram? I'm thinking Ingram, man.
Yeah, I like Ingram, I think, the most too.
Yep. Redraft, not about this game. Okay, and again, with Ingram, like we'll play him here, but we're not going to. There's 4 pretty good tight ends this week that I would put ahead of Ingram at least. So
you have the tight end whisperer as well.
Yeah, we're doing our best, man. This is supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be an easy year for me, Rich. What the heck happened, dude? I was supposed to be able to just chill this year.
Yeah, no, it's the heart of darkness out there.
It's crazy, bro. Sure. What the heck, man?
At least we got Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers and Trey McBride and George Kittle, it's just like are carrying the world right now. Because, I mean, what the heck happened? Sam Laporta, I mean, he scored on his 1 target last week. Mark Andrews is cooked. I don't know. Let's go. Let's just keep moving here. Let's just not even think about it for a second. Yeah. Dolphins, Colts, man. Dolphins side of things, it's a 43.5 point over under, 3-point spread in favor of the Colts. Anybody from the Dolphin side with, or we just stay away?
That's a mild interest. I think the run game will be more of a sum of parts. They haven't really run effectively. And then we have yet to see a full game of Mostert and Etienne together yet either. So we still have kind of that to sort itself out. Yeah. I do have some interest in Tyreek Hill here this week. He's been really close the 2 games at Tyler Huntley. I think closer than people look at the box score says. He had in the Titans game, he basically had a 70-yard touchdown. Huntley overthrew. He had a touchdown against the Patriots that he just didn't get his second foot in. It was very close to being a touchdown. But he has 33% and 32% of targets in those 2 games of Huntley, 17 total targets. Colts still 31st in yards per target allowed to wide receivers. They don't change their defensive approach to anyone. Like they don't adjust for opponent. Like Gus Bradley just does what Gus Bradley does. So I do think there's a shot for him to maybe hit a play or two. Are we going to be able to get him into our lineup over some really good wide receiver plays? Probably not, but I do think he's interesting, like a DFS play this week.
He's just one of those guys that he's so good with the ball in his hands, and I just can't believe they can't hit him on a slant or hit him on something for him to take the house. Because I mean, we saw it last year, 2,000 yards. He was on pace for before the high ankle sprain, and he was doing a lot of it himself. You know what I mean? It's like that offense. If you can have somebody that gets the ball in their hands quick, like Tua was doing at the right spot, then you could be fine. And it's just the fact they haven't found somebody. Kind of rough. On the Colts side, we're expecting Anthony Richardson. Any interest in him? I know you're the Konami code guy. We almost have to use a mobile QB now.
I mean, the thing is, the weird thing about Richardson though is we wanted to be a Konami code guy, but he kind of low key. He has like a mix because he gets designed runs, but he doesn't scramble. He's weird because he's a bad passer, but wants to hang in and throw the football because he's such a big guy. Like he wants to hang in the pocket and deliver the ball. He actually has a lower scramble rate when pressured versus Jared Goff and Aaron Rodgers. Like those guys scramble more on pressures than him.
Wow.
So he's helping the defense in both ways because the defense wants him to throw because he can't hit anybody. Then he's not running, and that's like one of the big assets that he has. So I want to see him scramble more because he hasn't been a good passer, and we have just this ongoing sample now as we continue to flesh it out where. Will he ever be a good passer? Because everyone keeps bringing up, well, he's only started X amount of games since high school. And yeah, but like accuracy from my experience of playing fantasy football and analyzing fantasy football and going from prospects, college to pros, like guys just don't become good throwers of the football. It's very rare that a bad thrower of the football becomes a good thrower of the football. And that's like something Anthony Richardson is a big red flag. I think from a dynasty perspective, he is a guy that I would feel very lukewarmish about because it was the same thing that happened to Justin Fields. He had all these traits where it's like, oh, okay, I'm getting fantasy points, but when it's time to get that second contract, are they going to be in bed to make him a franchise guy? And right now, we would lean no for Anthony Richardson. So,
and there are the few examples we have of really truly inaccurate college passers were built for it, and everyone knew that it was going to be a project to go one way or another, like Brett Favre. And they were actually most of them were fairly inaccurate for a couple years. Brett Favre, example, Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen, that was a knock. And the first 2 years, 52% completion percentage. And then that went all the way up to 56, which was good for still 32nd, right? In the second year. It wasn't until the third year that he really got it together. So yeah, that's the thing with Richardson is that he needs to develop that. We got to give him time, but he's got to play. He's got to be out there playing to get that sample size for us to even really see it. So I'm with you. We can avoid him here. Question from the chat: Richardson or T-Law in Superflex?
I would still play Richardson just based on the run out we've had with Trevor Lawrence, right? Where's the ceiling for Trevor Lawrence, right? At least with Anthony Richardson, you can say
Gabe Davis actually catches the football.
Because we also still have no Jonathan Taylor. That's the one pro we have with Anthony Richardson is we're expecting Jonathan Taylor to not be back. So if they get inside the 5, are they dialing up designed runs for Anthony Richardson versus Tyler Goodson and Trey Sermon who's banged up, right?
Yeah.
So no Jonathan Taylor probably helps him in that regard.
Yeah, I say honestly we don't need to use a Colt here because the thing with Josh Downs is he's getting peppered, but he was getting peppered by Flacco. He's not really coming that close to cracking 100 yards yet. So I don't know. Maybe we can consider a defense or kicker from there. Andon wants to know Pittman or Xavier Legette.
What was it? Oh, and oh, good God.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested in Legette, but it's you also don't know how many targets he's going to get. And then Pittman's dealing with this back issue. Not only the back issue, but the Anthony Richardson factor in terms of, because 17% of his targets from Richardson have just been inaccurate throws.
Right.
So
yeah, and it's he's bailed himself out with touchdowns in back-to-back weeks.
I think I would roll the dice on Legette. I think because I also looking at Miami second fewest percentage of points allowed to wide receivers this season because they're bad. They're another bad run defense. Man, I wish Jonathan Taylor was playing this game.
I know. I know. It's a shame. We've had a bunch of that this year with like matchups that are just missed by guys that would have been perfect. Like Tank Dell missing the Jaguars game with how bad their safeties have been. Evan Engram missing the Bills game with both their linebackers out. It's just like, can we get one? There's some good matchups this week. Let's move on here. Lions at Vikings, 50.5 point over under, only 1.5 point spread. Conditions are perfect for a shootout. Are they not?
Yeah, because both these run defenses are awesome too, and they kind of funnel teams to throw the football. Now the Lions, we know they will probably run the ball at least moderately effectively. Even in these two matchups last year, the running backs weren't like hyper efficient rushing, but we know the Lions are going to do what they do. They do run the football in these games. But I'm very interested in the passing games for both of these teams because they're not typically, because you could look at it, especially with all the steam Brian Flores has got this year, who's done an amazing job.
Amazing.
But also, when you look at these teams, they played each other twice last year. Brian Flores did what he does against everybody against Jared Goff. He blitzed on 73% of the dropbacks. That was the highest blitz rate the Vikings had against any quarterback they faced multiple times. And he sends exotics. He doesn't just play a lot of man coverage blitzes. He's playing a lot of cover 3 behind those blitzes, a lot of cover 2 shell coverage. They're blitzing DBs a lot. The Vikings, but when they didn't get pressure on Jared Goff last year, he was 44 of 49 passing. Yeah, those are 44 of 48. 5 incompletions in 2 games, unpressured against Brian Flores this season or last year. So, and Goff's on like a super heater right now. Yeah. His past 3 games, 54 of 66 passing, like everything's working.
He's also been crushing against the blitz too. Like I saw some, like he's just been so even when you throw guys at him this year, he's getting it out quick. He hit, Jameson Williams on that crosser for a touchdown. It's like, I don't know. So I guess that's the question.
I think there's an up because I think people will say we don't want to play guys against Brian Flores, but even Brock Purdy had a 300-yard game. Jordan Love obviously had the garbage time run out, but had a 300-yard passing game. Like I think there's enough raw counting stats here available for Goff, even if he's like kind of inefficient, but also if he is efficient in the way he's played the last 3 weeks, like, yeah, this game could be a real shootout. And then you've got on the other side, we have to just like figure out how this Detroit defense calibrates the loss of Aiden Hutchinson, who not only was leading the NFL in pressures, he had 10 more pressures than the next closest pass rusher.
They had their bye week like that. He was leading in sacks, leading in pressures, and they had played one fewer game.
They played one fewer game than everybody. And the splits for Detroit as a pass defense when they've gotten pressure on their quarterback versus not are pretty stark. When they've pressured the opposing quarterback, they've allowed a 49% completion rate, 5 yards per pass attempt, and a first down or touchdown, 26% of those attempts. When they have not gotten pressure on the opposing quarterback, it goes to 71.5% completion rate, 7.3 yards per pass attempt, and a first down or touchdown, 36% of those dropbacks. So if they're not creating pressure in this game with no Aiden Hutchinson, that becomes a problem because although we know Detroit will still continue to try to run the football against the Vikings might not just be outright able to run the football against the Detroit Lions because even though they don't have Aiden Hutchinson, you say, well, how will they defend the run without Aiden Hutchinson? They still have McNeil. They still have DJ Reader. Like they're going to play the run. Like they're going to play the run. All right. So it's probably going to be a high drop back game. And this should be the first time all season where we could run into a really, really crooked Justin Jefferson game. Because Justin Jefferson, all the peripherals have been lined up for him this season. He leads the NFL all wide receivers and team target share. It would be technically number 2 of Malik Neighbors if you're doing on games available.
I think we got to jam him in there. And I'll also throw Amon-Ra St. Brown on the sheet. Are we going to consider any Lions running back? The split makes it kind of tough.
Yeah, that's the problem is the run out. What's funny is if like you were in a league where you only drafted like say like the running back, like San Francisco running back or Detroit running back. Detroit running back would be RB1.
Like, yeah, exactly.
They'd be RB1
by far. Yeah.
And remember last year they both missed like a month, and the month that the one guy missed, the other guy went nuclear. Like
boy, would I love to have Ravens tight end in my slot.
Yes, Ravens tight end.
Getting all those Charlie Kohler points or like whatever it is every other week,
But the Vikings are number 1 in the NFL in first half point differential. And as a byproduct, Sam Darnold is dead last in the NFL in second half dropbacks per game. So Justin Jefferson only has 16 targets in the second half this season of games. Like we expect them to be pushed this game, and if not, pushed out or maybe trailed.
Corners, Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold have been dog water, to say the least. I mean, it's crazy. Statistically speaking, Carlton Davis at one point was letting up the most yards in the league, and they were calling for Arnold to be benched. Like that's how bad they've both been. So
Yeah, so I mean, Justin Jefferson to me, I think from a DFS perspective, like he's a guy that I absolutely would want. I think this could be like our first like JJ like explosion game.
Yeah. All right, we're getting him in for sure. Let's real quick rapid fire just names for the chat because we got a bunch of games to fly.
This is my fault when you have me on the show.
That's what I'm saying. It's like we're 20 minutes in. We've done 3 games. 2 of them were the worst 2 games on the slate. And we got to get through things here. But dude, I just love the info, man. I love how detailed it is, and there's an explanation behind it. We finished in the money in a bunch of these. Last week with Matt Kelly, we finished down the middle, but we finished in the money with Kluge. We finished in the money with Justin Boone. So pretty good so far this week. If we win it, we'll have to decide whether we want to take the cash or whether we want to circle back and re-roll it on a FFPC best ball this offseason. So
that's how FFPC gets you, man. Like every
give
year.
You the extra. Yeah, I'm like,
because I play in the main events too, and it's like well, you can roll it over and just play it again. Like
the value,
I'll play.
The value's a little more. I'm gonna. It's like because I'm going to join these contests anyway. So I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? I'll save a little money to do it. So that's how they get you. Downs or Dell?
I'm Dell.
All right, Ayuk or Hunt? I'm with you on that.
Oh God.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it PPR?
PPR, yeah. There, it's on the screen there. You can see at the bottom left. I'm putting them on the screen.
I would still, I think, roll the dice on Ayuk in full PPR.
Yes, agreed. I mean, you never know who it's going to be in any given week with that stupid team, but I wouldn't. It's a perfect conditions for Kittle, so I wouldn't be shocked to see Shanahan just throw him one pass, have him block one game. Anthony Richardson or Herbert?
Oh, I'm still Richardson.
Yeah. Still Richard. Waddle or Juju? I think got to go Juju, right? Waddle has just been rough.
Yeah, I think if it's full PPR.
Yeah. All right, let's get back in this one so we can try and get through this and get out around the hour if possible. Texans at Packers, 47.5 point over under. Packers 3-point favorite. We're going to have players from this game. So let's start on the Texans side. If you had to pull, and again, we can put a couple names in the sheet because we're going to circle back and pull out who we want. So Texans side, who strikes your fancy?
I mean, Joe Mixon's the guy that stands out to me, I think, the most, but he is a road dog. It does the peripherals all do set up for him. We know PFF Bobby loves to run the football on early downs. And, the 3 games Mixon's appeared this season, they're 24th in early down pass rate. So I do like Mixon. I love the matchup too. Teams have allowed they're allowing a league high 34% of running back runs to go for a first down or touchdown. The Packers are. So if they're able to run the football, you're the tight end whisperer. Is this a spot for Dalton Schultz?
So the thing with Schultz, man, is that if you go back to last year, in the games with Nico and Dell both playing, he was getting 4.2 targets per game. In the games where one of them was out, he was getting 7. The thing is, Nico is obviously out, but they still have Diggs and they still have Tank. The thing is, the Packers have not been good against the tight end since Devondre Campbell left. I mean,
he had 8 targets last week.
That's what I mean. He didn't catch a whole lot of them, but still,
I think he had 20 yards.
That was also against the Patriots with Jabril Peppers on the commissioner exempt list, and Kyle Duggar's definitely not healthy. So I don't know. I just feel like I'll put him on the sheet, but I feel like at the end,
I was going to pick your brain about it. Yeah,
we're gonna look around. Yeah, I know. I moved him up my rankings. Kraft on this one, I'm not going for it just because it gets too thin with the Packers. I mean, how many guys need to get hurt for us to get some sort of consolidation here? No player on the team is on pace for 100 targets right now. Jaden Reed, of course, getting the carries, 1 or 2 carries every single week makes him obviously a viable guy, but like it just kind of would be nice if they just would trade some people away. Is my opinion.
No, it's nebulous. And that was always my problem with Tucker Kraft a couple weeks ago when he shadow realmed me against the Rams when he took that 60-yarder.
Right.
Because the hardest thing is
he did nothing in the first half. Let the record show. I was sitting there, I'm like, Kraft. I'm like, I got tweets in my draft still.
Probably. Well, I played so much. That was I went heavy Josh Jacobs leverage, and he didn't bust, but everyone was playing Wicks and Kraft that day in DFS, and I was like, man, I'm going to play so much Josh Jacobs, and I'm going to get over on everybody. And it did. Tucker Kraft got there.
Josh Jacobs, man, dude, come on. I need him to do. He's like just been empty volume. 100. It's like 150-yard rushing game is nothing. You got to catch some passes, score some touchdowns, do something, Josh. Come on. So on the Packers, we're not going to go Josh Jacobs.
No, we're not doing Josh Jacobs.
He's hurt us. Jaden Reed, probably the best bet if we're going to go somebody from over there.
Yeah, I mean, he has plenty a path to upside outcomes. I mean, Houston's playing, cover 3 and cover 4, basically on 52% of their pass dropbacks. With Jordan Love on the field, that's been Jaden Reed's kind of bread and butter, almost a little 4.5 yards per out run. I do think Jordan Love also is in play on the Packers side.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, 75% of the touchdowns that the Texans have allowed have come through the air. That's kind of what the Packers do. We just talk about Josh Jacobs. They're actually number 1 in the NFL at rate of touchdowns to be passing touchdowns. And they were also really high last year, too. It's like an ongoing sample for him. So he's kind of a wild card. I don't know if he'll be the quarterback, but
we'll see. Yeah. All right. Next game, Eagles here, 42.5 over under 3-point spread. Let's start Giants side because I feel like there's one name and we can just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's just Neighbors. Right?
It's just Neighbors, yeah, because we're not going to start Tyrone Tracy as much as cool as he is. The next Alvin Kamara, lightning in a bottle. Like we're starting the cream of the crop here. We're starting guys that are ranked. Like our running backs in a format like this, we could start the top 4 running backs from our rankings, and then maybe some guy that's like just in a perfect spot that we might have ranked like 7 or 8.
Right.
But like it's chalk city. On the Eagles side, there's some potential questions. We're not going to go with Grant Calcaterra, but I'm dealing with all these questions like that. And I'm just like, this guy had his best game ever last week where he caught 4 passes. And everyone's like, we got to get him in there. It's like, do we even like Dallas Goedert that much when AJ Brown and Smith are healthy? No, we don't. So it's like, what are we doing?
And Goddard's missed time each of the past 3 years, and that was by far the best game any tight ends had when he's missed. And it's like basically it was largely one play, the 30-yard catch and run.
I tell you, I'm on vacation this week because no Taysom Hill, thank goodness, no Cole Kmet, no Jake Ferguson. It's just like Tyler Conklin is now. No one's asked me Tyler Conklin questions after the trade. I'm like, this is great. Those are the guys that have been the biggest pain in the ass for me. It's like the one time I ranked Jake Ferguson high because he's crazy slow was last week because he should have got peppered with targets, and he did, and he didn't catch any of them. It's like these guys are making me look stupid every single week, dude. So I'm just Cole Kmet especially. I'm like, dude, they got all these wide receivers. I'm like, he's gonna score 2 touchdowns. What are the Jaguars doing playing zone at the 3-yard line with 2 of the worst safeties in the league? It's like, dude, it's like just hand it to Cole Kmet and let him walk in the end zone. Driving me nuts, man. But anyway, I digress. On the Eagles side, there's 4 players and they're all equally viable, right? Like, let me ask you: is there a world where you would ever go Devonta Smith over AJ Brown?
Not in this particular matchup. I think there's too much signal for AJ Brown. I mean, he's only played in 2 games and he's got 35% and 38% of team targets. And then the Giants do not play as much man coverage as the Browns do, because I was heavily in AJ Brown last week in DFS. But they are 10th in rate of cover 1, and he has 38% of team targets since they've acquired him with Jalen Hurts. Not just this year. That's a 2-year sample. So I think there's too much signal for AJ Brown. Also, high-low the show I jumped off of had the stat that the Giants also, when they do play man coverage, allow the most points per dropback in man coverage. So I think it does. If you're going to play a receiver, it's AJ Brown. The question is, do we try to jam in Saquon? How much revenge is in Saquon's quads? Do we know?
Dude, I feel like there's a lot. I feel like just to spite Tiki Barber alone. Right, like just Tiki Barber's fight alone.
And Nick Sirianni, like he's a little bit of a goober, man. Like he's probably trying to have Saquon pop off.
He'll do it. There's coaches that will do it. I've seen it before. I saw Mike Tomlin throw a pass to Antonio Brown when they could have taken a knee. They could have taken a knee to end the game. He threw a pass to Antonio Brown because he had some weird streak going of like 5 catches and 50 yards. It's like, some of these coaches are willing to pander to that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I would not put it past them at all to let Barkley go nuts. So, we'll circle back on that because, again, once we get the lineup up, then these things clarify themselves.
Right.
Okay. Let's hit the chat real quick with some questions. I don't want people to be left out here. Can't do any trade ideas today, Boston Rebels. Those ones are a little tedious. Throw those in the Discord. Throw a screenshot of your team in there, and I'll do it. Questions like this: Baker or Love? That we can handle.
Oh man, that's a tough one.
I know it is way tougher. I Baker. I had a hard time not ranking Baker in the top 5 this week.
Yeah, I will say this though. We got to follow this Mike Evans news because they play Monday, so I bet he doesn't practice today again because they have extra time, and it's Mike Evans. He could theoretically just not practice at all.
Right.
But he does have this. We've done this hamstring dance with Mike Evans a lot of times.
Yes, we have.
And so I will say, if Mike Evans is not playing 100%, it does lower my expectations. It's definitely a smash spot for Godwin, though.
Right.
But
just to settle it, the reason that I couldn't get Baker Mayfield in my top 5 is because I have Jordan Love at 5 and Baker is at 6. So I'm going Love.
I'll say this. I don't think you're going to be disappointed in either player.
Exactly. Watson or Pop Douglas? I'm assuming this is Christian Watson.
I'm playing Pop.
I mean, 9 targets, a couple games of 9 targets here. It's a new era. Diggs or McLaurin?
Wow. Yeah, that's a tough one too. I lean McLaurin. We haven't talked about that game, but
yeah, let's get to Diggs.
Those
right
are
now.
good players.
Yeah, and what are you doing sneaking questions in on games we haven't talked about? You know.
Yeah.
Better.
Oh yeah, we did.
Know better, but technically we'll allow it because we're on that game now. Titans, Bills, 41 point over under. Bills big favorites by 9, which is going to put the Titans at the game. Yes, the lowest implied point total for the week. So avoid Titans completely. I say yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to use the matchup to be in the Tajay Spears injury to get to Tony Pollard. I mean, the Bills have been absolutely horrible against the run. What's interesting about this matchup is the Bills allow the most yards before contact per carry to running backs. The Titans average the fewest yards before contact for the running backs. So it'll be fun to see how this one plays out. But I always am nervous when my running backs are road dogs of this nature. I'm always nervous, of getting scripted out. And we've seen the Bills a couple times jump all over teams early, and then those running backs in those games just don't do anything. That makes me a little nervous. Pollard would be the only guy, though. If this game is tighter than the point spread implies, it'll because the Titans are running the football effectively.
Yeah, I think Terrell Bernard's going to play here. losing Matt Milano, who seems to get hurt every single year, is just not good for them. I think that's been a big problem there. But Terrell Bernard, I'm not sure if he's going to play. Teron Johnson, these guys have been limited, so I think they might go.
Teron Johnson, I believe, is playing.
He's going to play. Sure. Okay, we'll leave it on the sheet there. And then on the Bills side, got Amari Cooper in town. Who knows what that's going to look like? Josh Allen's always on the table. What are you thinking?
I mean, it still just runs through Josh Allen. I think if he's the one guy you play, because the Bills they're another team that just love to give the ball to everybody. That's kind of head scratching. And it's a bummer the way they're using Dalton Kincaid this year. And I don't think Amari Cooper's arrival is going to alter that as well. I mean, you look at Dalton Kincaid, how he's been used this year versus last year. I mean, 29% of his targets are at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. As a rookie, it was only 11%. So he's almost at a triple higher rate. They're running so many of these just quick hitting flat routes to him. He's also playing in line as opposed to the slot more this year. He's at 44% inline rate. And as opposed to a 31% rate as a rookie. So he's lowered that slot rate. So as a byproduct of those two things that we just talked about, 72% of his yards are now after the catch. As a rookie, that was only 46.8%. He's low ADOT, have to do a lot of things after the catch type of player. He does have more red zone and end zone targets than he has rookie last year, but we need more downfield targets from him. And I don't know if the addition of Amari Cooper is going to lead us to getting more of those.
No, exactly. Now things are just really jammed because they got just too many of these slot guys, man. Too many of the guys are rotated in there, and Dawson Knox playing too. Yeah, I say it's Allen or nothing probably.
That's kind of where I lean when we're talking about the Bills.
Yeah. Okay. On the Bengals and Browns, 41.5 over under. Bengals favored by 5.5. Browns obviously kind of brutal right now. And again, it's David Njoku, but there's too many other good options, I think, to even go there. I mean, you can start tight ends in the flex because it's full PPR. I mean, it's tight end premium, but it has to be an absolute smash spot. We're talking if we're going to go 2 tight ends in the flex, it's going to be McBride and Bowers or Kittle and Kelsey or something.
Correct.
So let's just skip the Browns and we'll go to the Bengals. Bengals, obviously, a few options there. Again, let's start with the would you ever consider T. Higgins over Jamar Chase in a format like this?
Probably not. I would say, you're definitely not benching like your core Bengals guys, but I don't think for a game structure like this, we're going to probably get to any Bengals here.
Right. Yeah. 'Cause
Unfortunately.
only
I mean,
two
you're
bye weeks.
playing these guys. You're excited about the continued elevation and opportunities for Chase Brown. Yeah, you're going to play Jamar Chase, obviously. You're going to play T. Higgins. The cool thing about Higgins is that, and this happened for George Kittle too, is there wasn't enough, because a lot of people always talk about the splits for previous years, like Higgins and Chase on the field, but they weren't factoring in Tyler Boyd was no longer on the team. And
Right.
a lot of people talked about George Kittle splits with Debo and Brandon Ayuk on the field, but Christian McCaffrey's not playing, and Jordan Mason's not
Exactly.
Christian McCaffrey
He
in the
doesn't
pass
catch
game.
passes anywhere near.
So George Kittle's benefited from an increased target spike because the 49ers haven't had Christian McCaffrey. So those two players have really benefited from their situations being a little bit different, because the Bengals haven't had another player, because Yoshavash is literally like, he's had a couple spots, but he's not commanding targets the way Tyler Boyd did. So Higgins benefited from that. The same thing we talked about Kittle, but you're playing these guys in your season-long leagues, but I don't think we're going to get to them for a tournament like this in the spot.
Fully agreed, man. And again, with those, like the Kittle point, it's like, that's why Twitter drives me nuts sometimes. It's like, it's so hard to articulate what you just said when people are like, "Oh, Kittle, like, why don't we, why aren't we like fully invested?" And it's like, you got to understand that like, this time last year, it was the complete opposite, where George Kittle, people were asking me if they should drop George Kittle at this exact time last year, because he had a couple games with one catch,
Yeah.
in two different games. And it's like, you go back and look at the Cardinals game. Why did Kittle get one catch? Because he's bad? Because he's hurt? No, because Christian McCaffrey scored 4 touchdowns, right? Next week, it's a Debo Samuel week. And then Brandon Ayuk has 147 yards. And now people are like, "Oh, why does Brandon Ayuk stink?" It's like, well, because George Kittle has had good matchups and he scored a touchdown every single game. It's like they've not only do they have too many good players, but last year especially they threw the fewest passes of any team, qualified passes per PFF. It's like it's not just, you could get rug pulled at any moment with any one of these guys. You start them because they're the upside, but just know,
Yeah.
everyone just know those are best ball players. All right. Seahawks, Falcons, 51 point over under, 3-point spread. So we're looking at the Falcons are favored, but the Seahawks still have a fairly high implied point total, higher than the Bengals, who are favored by 5.5. So that's why we put that on the sheet, folks. Help you kind of recognize what's conducive to scoring and what is not.
Yeah, this game's got a lot of good plays in it. Two teams that play fast. Interesting enough, though, like it could be a situation where the Seattle run defense just isn't good enough either, and we just get this run out like last week where the Falcons are giving the combined backfield opportunities like close to 40. That could happen again too, because I mean
It wasn't supposed to
Seattle's
be
been
like this.
absolutely smoked
It
on the
wasn't supposed
ground.
to be like this, Rich.
No, it wasn't.
First 2 weeks, Bijan 90% snap share. Then he gets this little tiny AC joint issue, and they changed their entire philosophy.
And I mean, Tyler Allgeier's a solid player too.
I know. That's the annoying
That's the
part.
other rub, right? Like he's a solid to good player. It's
He
not like
looks
they're
good.
just, but they've been crushed on the ground. So I mean, the fact that they kind of cannibalize each other a little bit, I think prevents them from being like absolute smashes unless we get like multiple touchdowns, like Bijan got there with the multiple touchdowns last week, which is in the range of outcomes. I think the two wide receivers stand out in this game. Probably if we're doing Falcons, it's still just Drake London. He's really benefited. I did a show this offseason with Josh Norris, and we were trying to talk about like who was going to be the guy that was going to fit into the Zach Robinson offense that was going to be like that power slot guy. Were they going to try to do that with Kyle Pitts, or was it going to be Drake London, who, if you go back to USC, was a guy that did a lot of things near the line of scrimmage on that USC team that had, I think it was Caden Slovis was the quarterback. That wasn't good. It had to do a lot of things near the line of scrimmage. And the first 2 weeks, they really didn't use Drake London in the slot a lot. And then he's really ramped up. And he still has room to grow there, too. He's only at like a 37%, like the 40% slot rate in those spots. But it does help him get access to like these roster or like these fantasy smoothing targets, like these opportunities where he's going to just win downfield. And then you have the Kirk Cousins factor where he's getting more accurate targets than he did from the Ritter-Heineke combination. So he stands out the most. And then DK Metcalf in this particular matchup, I think, is in a really good spot. Geno Smith and Raheem Morris are no strangers. Funny enough, Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson also are not strangers. So it's going to be a fun cat and mouse game between these guys who probably did a lot of things at practice together, with the Rams. But DK has gotten over in these matchups against Raheem Morris defenses. Geno not so much, but they play a lot of zone, a lot of shell coverage. They play a lot of cover 3. DK has absolutely been like the guy in those spots. He actually has 10% more a higher target rate than the next closest Seattle Seahawk against cover 3. And then you look at the Seahawks in general, or the Falcons in general, they're giving up big games to wide receiver ones. Week 1, George Pickens, 6 for 85. Devontae Smith without A.J. Brown, 7 for 76 and a touchdown. Rashee Rice, 12 for 110 and a touchdown. Olave at 8 for 87. Mike Evans, 5 for 62 and 2. And then Deontay last week, 6 for 78 and 1. So I would lean DK being kind of like the best Seahawk guy.
I love that. I was thinking Walker, but I mean, if the numbers are saying cover 3.
Yeah, I mean, Walker's a great play too. This is why this game's fun.
We'll see. Geno or Mahomes, Trey wants to know this week.
I'm playing Geno.
Yeah, Geno rocks. Okay, let's move on here. Panthers, Commanders, 51.5. The Commanders have the highest implied point total of the week at 29.75. Vegas says that they're going to hang.
It's their highest team total since 1989.
Wow. For the Commanders or for any team?
Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. That near 30. 1989, dude. Is that Joe Gibbs?
Were you alive in 1989?
I was born that year. That was
all right. I had to ask.
Yeah. So, hey, it's anniversary night, right? Yeah. Joe. Was that Joe Gibbs? That was Joe Gibbs there?
Yeah.
Wow.
That had to be Joe Gibbs. Yeah.
Wild, dude.
Had to be.
Now he's winning in NASCAR. What a winner, dude. Joe Gibbs rocks. But anyway, so let's start Panther side. Deontay or nothing, or Chuba's been pretty good, but I don't know if you go.
That's what makes it tough. I think both these guys are great plays. So Chuba Hubbard is the past month, 26, 22, 17, 23 touches. Only Derrick Henry has more rushing yards than Chuba Hubbard the past month. And
crazy sentence, Rich.
And
crazy sentence alert.
And Washington, 31st in yards per carry allowed to running backs, 25th in rushing points allowed per game. They allow the highest rate of explosive runs to running backs, almost double the league average. So I think he's going to be like the chalkiest DFS play at his price. There's another good running back this week too, but given his price.
Those kind of plays, though, in this format, because there are a handful of teams every week that put in literally just the top names. So it's like if you do a couple of those Chubas, and that's almost all you need to differentiate. We want the very top plays, like the Jeffersons, and then a couple guys that aren't, Saquon Barkley.
And I actually think as good as a play that Deontay is too, because objectively Deontay Johnson's a good play, but I think in a structure like this, we would probably go Chuba over him because of just how many good wide receiver plays there are.
Yes. That's it. That's what ends up being. Like, we're going to have probably 2, at most 4 running backs. You only have to start 2, but usually there's at least 3. Yes. And then the rest of our flexes are probably going to be wide receivers, and maybe another tight end. But on the Commander side, I'm going to just put Jaden Daniels' name here because he's always in consideration. But what do you think? Terry? Again, Terry's
the problem is it's a tremendous spot for the running backs, but is it a spot where it's just like the sum of parts versus an individual score? Because I definitely know the Commanders are going to run the football. Everyone's run against the Panthers except for the Raiders. And this is a 2-year sample, obviously. And, they lose Derrick Brown. What's crazy about the Panthers, as bad as their defense was even entering the year, they've lost so many starters along the way. It makes it even so. It's even just like accelerated this like terrible defense and lit it completely on fire.
Brutal, yeah. And like the Commanders with Jaden Daniels are kind of weird in terms of fantasy because of how efficient he's been. Like, he's been very efficient, which doesn't lead to they get their points, but it doesn't feel like gaudy numbers. Like, Zach Ertz is getting targets, but he's not doing much. Terry isn't like lighting the world on fire. It's mainly Daniels and then Brian Robinson's scores or Eckler scores. It's like, you really, I'm shocked that we haven't been able to really pull a second pass catcher out of this team. Noah Brown, is kind of playing the second most snaps at this stage. Like, it's very, very unusual team. But I guess you get that with mobile quarterbacks sometimes, right?
Yeah, you have that where the secondary target with mobile quarterbacks typically is not a guy that goes along for the ride. And you have the cliff factor, right? Like, they're rotating a lot of guys in that spot as well. Terry, I think Terry's a fine play. I think he's a solid even DFS play, but in something like this, like we probably won't get to him.
Probably not.
It probably will be Jaden Daniels.
Probably should just start Jaden Daniels. I think that makes our lives a lot easier, to be honest. But
I think so.
Okay, next game here, we got the Raiders and Rams. 43.5 point over under 7-point spread. On the Raiders side, it's basically Brock Bowers or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make a case for Jacoby Myers if he were to practice today, but it's not going to be in a format like this. Full PPR. Well, we also have the run out here. So Brock Bowers, not only do we have like the full thing where like he has 30% of the targets per out without Devontae Adams. He also is playing this Rams team that plays one of the highest rates of zone coverage in the NFL. Brock Bowers has been targeted on 31.5% of his routes against zone coverage, as opposed to only 13.8% against man coverage. Like one of the most starkest splits at the position. And then the Rams also suck at covering tight ends, or have to this point. They allow 12.8 yards per target to tight ends. So in this game, from a DFS perspective too, you have like a very clear correlated mini of Kyren plus Bowers, and it's pretty easy to just
as I scroll up here and see the names Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Neighbors, Chase, Metcalf, London. I'm not going to type Jacoby Myers' name into the sheet. If that's okay with you, Rich. I just
wanted to bring him up. Yeah,
I appreciate you getting his name out there into the airwaves, but
Deontay Johnson did practice today for the chat. We do this every week with him. He's never practiced till Friday, like the last 3 weeks.
Nah, dude. One day he said it was too slippery.
Hey, I respect that. Contract year, Deontay, you got to secure the bag.
Yeah, he said my groin's been bugging me. It's too slippery out there today for me, but thanks anyway. So there you go. Okay, let's do Rams quick, and then we'll hit a couple questions.
I want to be excited for Kupp coming back, but this is such a kill spot for Kyren Williams.
No, there's no reason to do it.
The very last 2 games the Raiders have played, they've allowed over 100 yards to Najee Harris and Javonte Williams. And until last night, that was like by far the best Javonte Williams game had. And that's all you really need to know.
Exactly. I had a hard time. I considered ranking Kyren Williams 1 overall this week. Then I ranked Saquon Barkley 1. But I think I ranked him 2.
I did rank Kyren 1, but I'm not mad at you for.
No, I was like, I thought about Tiki Barber. I was like, well,
Tiki Barber factor.
I said
those quads house a lot of revenge.
I wonder if Tiki's going to be in the house. That'd be great. Okay, Rams. We got the Rams. All right, let's go on the next one. Chiefs, 49ers, 47.5 here. I'll say this. I don't want to use Travis Kelce here. I know he's the only show in town. I'm ranking him very high, but I mean, Fred Warner and Devondre Campbell they're pretty good, man. They're pretty good at covering the tight end. So if it's cool with you, I'm going to say no Kelce here.
Yeah, it's weird that this game, being a rematch of last year's Super Bowl, from a fantasy perspective, is not all that intoxicating.
Right.
It really isn't, and it's probably a byproduct of one of just where we are with the Chiefs. They have a great defense. They are managing games. It's frustrating.
This happens though. We saw it.
They've had a lot of injuries.
Peyton Manning came out through 49 touchdown passes, and the team went 12-4 on the Colts. The very next year, the defense got better, the run game went better, and the team went 14-2. The team was even better, and he threw 29 touchdown passes because he didn't have to. It's like, you see this, man. The season Mahomes threw 50 touchdown passes. Defense was bad, run game was meh, and then he had to do what he had to do. So it kind of sucks for fantasy, where it's like the best players, the unanimous best player in the world is like QB9 in my rankings. You know what I mean? It's just, what are you gonna do? Fantasy football.
Yeah, and the 49ers, you got to do the whack-a-mole game as always with these guys. I do think that it sets up for a good spot for Kittle, but
it's perfect for Kittle. That's why it's not going to happen.
Are you still, is Kittle's spot as good as Bauer's spot?
Yeah, on paper they're both good, but the difference is that Bowers is playing with DJ Turner and Trey Tucker. You know what I mean? Like,
you're right, exactly.
Like Juwan Jennings would be the best wide receiver on the Raiders by a mile. He doesn't even play because they got to get the fullback in there. You know,
because we probably won't play 2 tight ends. So
yeah, and then the question is like, would we picking Debo or Ayuk is also is a nightmare.
Yeah, and that's.
I mean we could play. It's tight end premium. So what you do is you put Kittle in the tight end spot, and then you justify putting Bowers.
Then you put Bowers in the flex because he's a wide receiver.
Because he's a wide receiver. You put Kittle in that flex spot. It's not going to.
But I don't even think on this particular slate we're going to get to where we do the Debo thing. I will say it does set up for a Debo game probably more than an Ayuk game.
Yeah.
And then you have to factor in too, like with the injuries the 49ers have in the backfield, we probably get some rushing work for Debo in this game, but are we going to get to Debo over AJ Brown over DK Metcalf, over
I'll type
Justin
I'm
Jefferson.
gonna type his name in, but you're right. It's like Debo last year. He needs the rushing. He does. Last year, every top 24 wide receiver got 100 targets except for Debo because he scored 5 rushing touchdowns. It's like he does need it. So it's almost like, and the whole thing is like, do you have any metrics out there that tell you where and when Jaden Daniels or sorry, Jaden Reed or Debo Samuel are primed up for a rushing touchdown? It's just a little tough. It's a little fluky, you know? Like, how
Yeah,
do you say?
it's just a bummer because everyone's going to watch this game, 49ers
Right,
Chiefs. Like, from a real football perspective, this is a great game.
right. Yeah, they need
Uh,
less good players. They got too many good players on the field. That's the problem.
yeah, but from a
Jets.
fantasy perspective, yeah.
Let's rifle through this and get to making this team up. Jets Steelers 38-point over under, which in a season where we've had so many games with like 35 or 36-point over unders, I'm looking at 38 and I'm like, that's not so bad, but
I
like
guess not, yeah.
still not touching it, right? Like,
No, we're not. I will say, big picture though, you're probably like Monday was encouraging, I think, for the Jets. Not so much as getting Devontae Adams. I know that's like the
I'm
lead,
gonna type it in
but
here.
they ran their highest rate of pre-snap motion, their highest rate of play action passes, and their highest rate of dropbacks out of the gun in a game this season. So if they can continue to do those things with the addition of Devontae Adams, like we're trending in the right direction because the Jets schedule does get pretty good the back half of the year.
Yeah. I love what Tomlin's here's what I think Tomlin's doing. You create all these rumors about Russ starting, and then now whatever happens, he's gonna seem like he's right. Because if you send Justin Fields out there to throw the ball against the Jets, he's gonna look terrible. And then you have the green light to start Russ. And if you start Russ, like you're starting the better passer against the tougher defense. Do we have confirmation that Russ is a go at this
Not
stage?
officially, but like everyone
Skewing that way.
internally seems to be suggesting that it is going to be Russell Wilson.
Boy, if Russell Wilson would come in and start throwing good quality passes to Pat Frymuth, that would make my life a lot easier, Rich. It sure
Would be
would
good.
make my life better. Like if all of a sudden Pat Frymuth with Russ or Hunter Henry with Drake May started being better, then we can get by. We could get by.
The other
Wait,
part of the other component is they lost their center Zach Frazier, who's the 4th starting offensive lineman they've lost now.
I know.
Uh,
How
so
they? Yeah, it's
did you see the play last week where I forget who the right tackle was? Just didn't even block the dude for the Raiders. Like just he missed the snap count, and like Justin Fields just had to run. Like he just had to run. Like the second he got the ball, it was hilarious.
DM me that after the show. I have to
Yeah,
see
I'll
that.
send
Or
it to you.
tag
It's
me in that.
hilarious. The
Yeah.
dude just like didn't even block. It was absolutely incredible.
I love plays
It was
that.
absolutely amazing.
Oh, that's the best. We had one of those last year. I'm a Patriots fan, and they had Mike Gesicki try to block Max Crosby at the goal line at the end of the game, and it was just obviously a game-ending safety. But he literally just slapped him on the back. He just slaps Gesicki on the back of the head, and he just falls on his face like a Family Guy cartoon. Like it just gets the safety. I'm like, well, what did we think was going to happen there, guys? Okay, two games left, both Monday night. Ravens Buccaneers. Got to be some names we can pull from this one. It's a 49.5-point over under, 3.5-point favorites for the Ravens. So decent implied totals for both teams.
Yeah, it looks hot. Two teams scoring a
The
lot of
color,
points.
the Commanders having such a high number here is messing up my color coding. Delete them out. It didn't really change the colors at all. What the heck? Well, anyway, it should be closer to green here. 26.5. Come on now.
Yeah, Lamar's been awesome, playing arguably some of the best football he has ever played. The marriage of Lamar and Derrick Henry is rocking. I will say this: they have had a really very light schedule to this point, so that has helped like the overall numbers for fantasy footballers. So we'll see what Todd Bowles can throw at him here. But there's a couple spots. Zay Flowers in a really good spot. We've seen him anytime the Ravens have to throw the football. He's been the guy. He's wide receiver 5 in team target share. He's got double-digit targets in 4 games already. And we've seen all the stuff. Like Jamel Dean, we'll have to see if he plays in this game. But there's opportunities for Zay Flowers in this game. Ravens it's basically Zay, Lamar, or the big dog.
Yeah, and the
And the
thing
big
is,
dog don't catch passes.
yeah, but the difference at the same time, like every so often we see, Derrick Henry just take over and then Flowers gets 2 targets, which
Yep.
that always scares me. On the Buccaneers side, we're thinking Godwin with
Yep.
the Evans issue. 3-headed monster. I don't even want to talk about it or think about it. Like
And not against the
Did you
Ravens. We're
did you
not
see
doing this.
the most recent quote on that, which was, they said they're gonna come out Liam Cohen said they're gonna come
Yeah.
out and give each one of them a drive, and whoever does best is gonna be getting more carries moving forward in the game. What
Well,
the
I can tell you
heck?
what, it's gonna be none of these guys against the Ravens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're all gonna look terrible, and then nobody's gonna get the ball.
Yeah,
But so
Ravens don't give up any production on the ground,
yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
not expecting the Bucks to really run it here. But yeah, I mean Godwin, Ravens 31st in yards per target, a lot of slot receivers, 29th in touchdown rate, a lot of slot receivers. He's just like Liam Cohen. This triangle of what Liam Cohen, Baker Mayfield, and Chris Godwin have done this season have all lended itself to each other because Baker is the quickest time to throw in his career, his
Yes.
lowest air yards of his career. He's getting the most yak production of his career. And now we've seen Godwin move back to the slot. And Godwin's getting like all of these quick hitters. He's got 17% of his targets are screens. He has the highest rate of his career of targets of ins and outs, just like quick hitters. So yeah, Godwin definitely is the standout.
Right. Well, I mean, you bring in the guy that works with Cooper Cup, and then he uses a guy like Cooper Cup. Good things happen, right? So a beautiful thing. Uh, so got to be Godwin there. On the last game here, we got Chargers Cardinals 2.5 point favorites for the Chargers. I feel like on the Cardinals side, it's Trey McBride. It's nothing, right?
Yes, 100%. So we might not have Marv. We don't know if Connor's going to play. You're not going to play Trey Benson, probably splitting, time with Amiri DiMercado on passing downs. And we saw last week when Marv left the game, I mean, McBride was back to like last year McBride. The usage has been fine for McBride kind of all year. Just need to get over
What
it.
if we just put like a juggernaut lineup in here and then also put in like Zay Flowers in his first game back? It just
Yeah. What's funny is you talked about playing Kittle at the flex, and I was thinking if we were to do that with anyone, it would be McBride Bowers because
I'm fully on board with it. I'm telling you, we're gonna get rug pulled with Kittle.
the Chargers play the most zone coverage in the NFL. Another guy, McBride, has pretty stark splits. He's been targeted on 28.4% of his routes against zone coverage compared to 18.8% against man. That's not as dramatic as the Bauer splits, but as a product of the playing so much zone coverage, the Chargers, 27.5% of the receptions that they've allowed are going to tight ends. It's the second highest rate in the league.
And people say, they're like, oh, what about Derwin James? Well, they really don't use him like that. Some teams do that. Some teams will have the safety come down in the slot and just line up on Travis Kelce. They really don't do it. It's just that one time that Derwin James power bombed Travis Kelce that everyone in their mind is like, yeah, well, he's all over him. But like they don't do that the way you would think. Like they don't shadow Derwin James on the tight ends. That's almost like a waste of that player. And then on the Charger side, I guess maybe Dobbins.
Yeah, just the running backs against the Cardinals, man. Just
A tale as old as time.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not going to start Lad McConkey.
No, I mean, I think if you're in a season-long league, Lad isn't. If there were a spot for you to be excited about playing him, it would be this one, but not in something like this.
Yeah, I mean, Malik Neighbors had 51 targets in 4 games, and no player on the Chargers is on pace for 100. So it's like, like it's like once we get into this lineup, I think people are going to be like, oh, that's why they're not even thinking about those guys. All right, let's get in here. Let's zoom a little bit, enhance. Enhance. Oh, gee,
you broke it.
I broke it. I unhanced it. Hold on.
Yeah, you did the opposite. You unhanced.
There we go. Unhanced. All right, here we go. Let's get in a couple names that we are like locked in on from the sheet. We had Saquon Barkley, Tiki Barber game, right? Let's get him in there. Who else do we have that we were just like
Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, JJ Jefferson for sure. We'll circle back on QB. I think that's the way to do it here. Is because like sometimes
not Jamar Jefferson. We definitely don't want Jamar Jefferson.
You ever make that mistake?
No.
Right. We'll get Van Jefferson in there.
I think Jamar Jefferson, Oregon State, finest.
Yeah, I mean there was a little dino, dino chatter there for a very, very brief period. Now he's behind Craig Reynolds. Is he still even on the Lions?
Who knows?
Probably
in a practice squad.
Yes. All right. So here's what we got for running back options. Okay. We're gonna put Kyron Williams in actually right now.
Yeah, Kyron is a lock, I think.
Yeah. So Kyron's a lock, and that. Okay. So the other guys we had, and now we're to the. Well, actually, let's put our other wide receiver in, so it's all flexes moving forward. So our options we had. I'm going to delete Pop Douglas's name from the sheet now.
Yeah, he's
Tyreek
not gonna make it over these guys.
Tyreek's not going to make it either, honestly. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Jaden Reed, AJ Brown, Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, Drake London.
Yeah, very good. I think Amon-Ra would be in for me.
Deontay is going to be out. Deontay Johnson. I'm crossing out Deontay. I'm crossing out Debo. Crossing out Devontae Adams is out. Yeah. So let's do Amon-Ra. All right, chat. What do you guys want? Hit us with anything special you guys want. So now we're into tight end. Let's get our core guys in here. We have to start. Delete Schultz. Bowers, Kittle.
It's gotta be Bowers, right?
McBride. Yeah, let's get him in there. Okay. Mile High Luke has a Jamar Jefferson signature, so we're still holding out hope for you, Luke.
Frame it, baby. Frame it.
Frame it, dude. That's my pros with Joe's partner. Tough loss by 1 point this week to Simon, the evil front yard fantasy Simon.
Ugh.
I know, couldn't have been a worse guy too. Okay. So now we're into the flexes, and boy, so Barkley and Kyron are in. We could go with. I feel like we got to have somebody from the Seahawks here against the Falcons. So Kenneth Walker or DK Metcalf.
I lean DK.
Okay, good. Well, and the good thing about that is it also crosses off Kenneth Walker, so we don't have to think about him. Let's think about your running back rankings. You have Kyron and Barkley way up there. Who else is in your top 3 or 4 for this?
Yeah, looking at him right now, I mean, yeah, Chuba Hubbard. I have Chuba Hubbard at 5.
So I'm saying, let's do that. That's all we need to do. I'm telling you, with these, like a little differentiation like that, the good chalk and just a little Chuba, boom. The people want DK. They were saying DK or Walker. So good. Okay, let's do wide receiver. Same thought process. We have Amon-Ra, we have DK in there. Where do you have
do we run back London with DK?
I think that would be good correlation. I think that's good correlation right there. Okay, that leaves us a flex, QB, and then we'll just throw whoever in for place kicker and defense as we do. So why don't we do the QB here? We can't do Goff because we did Amon-Ra St. Brown.
No.
We still have a Raven available to us.
Yeah, we can do Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Lamar, any of those guys.
We can't do Hurts. We can do Love. Why don't we do Jaden Daniels?
That's fine. Yeah, Jaden Daniels is good.
High implied point total. How are we going to get those points? Jaden Daniels.
I say we have the fun, man. Let's play McBride.
Yeah,
let's have the fun. Let's have the fun.
I am always, me, tight end guy. I'm always looking for an excuse.
Let's have the fun.
I'm always looking for an excuse to get the tight ends in there. I don't want to pressure anybody. You know what I mean? But if you're the one saying it, chat, he's the one saying it. We're going 2 tight end set.
I love it.
Let's go. All right. For defenses, it has kind of blacked out a lot of options here that we can't use. We could use.
We can use Bengals. We can use
Buffalo against Tennessee is on the table.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
And then place kicker. Yeah, that was easy enough. Place kicker, we can use. Dude, we have a lot of options. This is where we can use somebody from that Chiefs 49ers game. We could do Chase McLaughlin against the Ravens.
They're dogs though. So honestly, Buckner would make sense probably, right?
Buckner, Justin Tucker.
Oh yeah, Buckner.
We didn't use a lot. It's crazy some of the teams we didn't use because we're using Chuba Hubbard. We're not using a Bengal. We're not using
a wild card too. Would be Cameron Dicker.
Where's Dicker? Yeah,
for the Chargers
against Arizona in the dome. In where it's nice anyway. They might not even have the dome. No, it's always up.
Yeah. He's high in my ranks. He projects well this week for me.
Let's do it.
If you want kicker projections.
It boils down to that. I do want him. It boils down to that a lot, man. It boils down to it where it's like everybody's got these great lineups. And like 2 weeks ago, if we had used a better kicker, now I totally forget, but if we had used a better kicker, we would have won instead of coming in third. That was literally the difference between our team and another team. So there we go, dude.
Yeah,
We
that's
got the
fun,
lineup
man.
here. Yeah,
It's
it's fun, man, because you look back at the team and you're like, all right, here's our team. Just a humble group of Jaden Daniels, Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chuba Hubbard, Drake London, DK Metcalf, Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, Dicker the kicker, and Buffalo's defense against Tennessee. Beautiful, man. Thank you so
Love
much
it,
for
love
coming
it.
on,
Yeah,
brother.
perfect.
Plug whatever you want to plug, man. Just tell everybody where they can find you and all your incredible stats and your awesome stuff, dude.
Yeah, it's sharpfootballanalysis.com. If you want to know something about a player, I write up every player in every game. So that's
Every
why
player.
it's easy for me to come on a show like this and drop some nuggets for you guys because I already put on all that work on those players. So even if you don't have a subscription, because like who's buying fantasy subscriptions in week 7, I get it. Every week the primetime games are free for everybody. So Thursday night football, and which had pretty good read on last night's game. Unfortunately, we knew it was going to be bad, but had good stats. I don't know, being down. I was lower this week on Alvin Kamara and higher on Javonte Williams, so we were good there. And then the Monday night game is always free too. So Sunday,
Awesome.
Thursday, and Monday night.
Both Monday night games?
No, not this week. Only one.
Oh,
But they do two.
boo.
You got to take. Listen, take it up
Boo.
with Papa Sharp to get his
I'm kidding.
DM.
It's free stuff, dude. The man with the mustache giving you free stuff up there from the top. So thank you so much, man. You crush. Everybody, for me, I'm out. I'm no Sirius XM show for me tonight. It's anniversary night. It's been postponed. So we're rocking, dude. I'm off the clock. Thank you guys for joining.